What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Rideshare Hub. My name is Greg Wave. I wanted to do a video for you guys. I had the craziest weekend recently, and it was really clutch for me. I had made some really not the best investments, we'll say. And I ended up coming up on I had rent and a car payment due, and I had a lot of money to make in a short amount of time, and I didn't have any other forms of income for that week. So it was like grind time, and I had this crazy clutch story that I just wanted to share with you guys. For one, to show the power of Uber and how you can still pull things off last second and use it for some really clutch things like this scenario that I'll explain to you guys. But also, it's just a really incredible story, and I just can't wait for you guys to hear it. So that being said, let's dive right into it. Before we get started, though, I wanted to tell you guys about an app called GetUpside. GetUpside is a really sick app for saving money on your gas. 25 cents off per gallon the first time you use it. I left my referral code in the description below. You guys definitely want to check out GetUpside. Gas is such a massive cost that we need to be doing everything we can to save money on GetUpside. So GetUpside, check it out. I promise you won't be disappointed. But no, sorry. Sometimes I get sick of wearing my glasses. I don't know. For those of you guys that wear glasses or something, you know what I'm talking about. Where after a while you're just like, I need these off. So let me explain this scenario to you guys real quick. So like I said, I found myself shorter financially than I had planned on being. And I had my car payment and rent was due basically in 7 days. So my car payment isn't like a crazy bill. Cars aren't really all that expensive in terms of like how easily you can make a car payment on Uber. I just worked really hard for 2 days and I had my car payment. So I was down to, I just needed to pay rent. My rent with trash and sewer and all that garbage usually ends up being about like $1,100 a month. And so I basically had to make like close to $1,100 in 6 days. So in the first few days, I did some work with some other stuff with my business, and I made like $400. And so I basically had to come up with $900. It got to the point where it was essentially $900 in 3 days. And that was, after working and doing different things, that was like the time I had left to pay rent. So I basically had 3 days. It just so happened, fortunately, that those 3 days were Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So basically, and this was just last weekend. I had until the 3rd. I get until the 3rd to pay rent every month. So I had to pay my rent before the clock ticked midnight on the 3rd. So Friday, I go out and I work I went crazy. I think I was out there 16 hours. I made, I want to say $385, so almost $400. So obviously a really good amount. And keep in mind, I only needed to really make about $900. So I made almost half of it just on Friday. Saturday, though, I go out, and I think I was still so fatigued from the day before. I can't remember how long I worked, but it wasn't crazy long. But I remember I made $130. So I'm at so I needed basically to make an extra, on Sunday, I needed to make an extra it was something like $360, right? Now, the reason why I knew I could hit it is because I had a quest going, and it was if I gave 60 rides in a weekend, I would get an extra $150. So on Friday, I shouldn't have done this at all, but I did do a little bit of Lyft driving too, and 90 of the dollars I made was on Lyft. Now, it ended up almost hurting me really bad that I did any Lyft driving because I should have just been working towards that quest, right? So on Friday, I did something like 25 rides on Uber. On Saturday, I didn't do that many. Y'all can do the math, but basically what ended up happening was that going into Sunday, I had to give 26 rides to get this quest, and I had to also then make $170 outside of the quest to basically have enough money for me to pay my rent. And some of these numbers I might have fudged a little bit. I'm just trying to remember what I actually did, but I just know that it all added up in the end. So what happens is Sunday's going pretty good. It's, I was driving in areas where I knew I could do a bunch of short, quick rides. Well, what happens is it takes me all day. I start at like 11:30 a.m. on Sunday, and it basically comes down to that. Basically, it's 11 p.m. and I have 58 rides. I have to do 60 rides to keep that bonus. Now, I don't know how many of y'all have driven late on a Sunday, but it's not the easiest to get rides. Like, people are going to bed. They're getting ready for work, right? So I'm just laughing because I couldn't believe how this happened. So I'm like going to all the busiest areas I know. So like here in Phoenix, Scottsdale's a pretty busy area. That's where like everyone goes out for the nightlife, right? So it's 11 p.m. and based on the last ride I dropped off, I knew it was like a 10-minute drive towards Scottsdale. So I start driving towards Scottsdale. I'm waiting. I'm not getting anything. I'm like, holy freaking crap. Like, this is not good. I've never missed a payment. Like, I really don't want that on my rental history. And all in all, it probably wouldn't have been the end of the world, but I just really didn't want to do it. So it's like 11:21. I get the first ride, and I have the Uber Gold Rewards, so I can see where my rides are heading. So it says it's like a 7-minute ride, and I'm like, okay, perfect, because I knew I was like, I can't get like a 30-minute ride, or I won't get that second one. I knew it had to be a short ride. So the frustrating thing would have been is that if somebody would have requested me for like a 30 or 40-minute ride, I would have canceled it because I would have seen, because I need those short rides. So I get like a 7-minute ride. So I end up dropping this ride off at, it was something like 7:42. Or maybe it was like 7:38. I want to say it was like, or why am I saying 7? 11:38 p.m. I was telling someone this story and I said 7 as well. I think it's because I was thinking it was a 7-minute ride. Well, I really apologize for the rabbit trails. So I dropped them off at like 11:38 p.m. So I have one ride left to give, and I have 22 minutes to do it before I'm late on my rent. And so I drive again straight back towards Scottsdale, and I get a ride request, and it's like a 7-minute ride, and it's like 5 minutes to pick him up. So I'm adding it up. I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna pick him up at 11:43. And if it's a 7-minute ride, I should drop off at 11:50. And I'm like, holy crap, this is just barely gonna work. Well, I get here, I get to his place. He lives in this apartment that's way back. He sends a message that says, hey, drive all the way to the back, and that's where you'll pick me up. And I was like, of course. So I drive all the way to the back, and then he sends me a message that says, coming down in a minute, be right there. Now, one thing I've learned is that if you don't reply there, it gives people a sense of urgency, because then they think, oh crap, is he the type of driver that's gonna leave? So I didn't say anything back, because I knew if I messaged him and if I acted cordial about it, he'd probably think he could take his time. And so if it came down to it, I was gonna call him and explain the scenario, and I was gonna ask him like, hey, I'll essentially take you for free if you're okay with me essentially starting the ride right now and saying, I dropped you off. I was going to explain the scenario to him, and that's how I was going to get away with it. But I didn't, because I didn't want to do that, because I didn't want to risk Uber pulling some move and being like, well, you technically cheated, so, we're taking away your $150. I didn't want any risks, so I was just like, he'll make it. I'm going to make it. So, and he really was prompt. He came down probably like a minute and a half after he sends that message. But it was like a whole additional minute or two getting out of his complex, which that time is adding up for me because I have to pay by midnight. Well, it all works out. We get on the main road. I drop him off at 11:53. I turn off Uber. I instant deposit the money. And I paid my rent at 11:56 p.m., 4 minutes before I would have gotten a late charge that would have gone on my rental history. I think my complex does like a $50 charge or something. And I was sitting there just like fist pumping the whole way home because I couldn't believe, I thought there was no chance I pulled it off. I really thought. But just to recap so that the numbers make sense. So I made $340 from my other business to start it off. And then I did $385, I believe, on Uber. Or I did $385 on Friday. And then I did $130 on Saturday. And then with the bonus, I did, I think it was $370. No, it ended up being $405. And then it was $405 with the bonus on Sunday. It got me exactly where I needed to be, just in the pinch of time. And it was just like seriously one of the craziest things. So I wanted to share that story with you guys. I thought it was really sweet, but it's also cool because I think it's nice knowing that like you do always have this backup plan. Like if you ever need to really hustle out a weekend, it's doable. Now, what did the hours look like? 35 hours in a weekend. 35 hours. So I was working. And believe me, that Monday, which was just 2 days ago, I literally just slept like and relaxed all day because I was drained. I was really freaking drained. And, you know, obviously, you know, 16 or 17 of those hours were just on Friday. But that averages out to like basically three 12-hour days in a row. So intense hours, but totally doable. I'm going to leave you guys alone on that. I hope you enjoyed this story. Be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And I will talk to you guys soon.